Now the idea here for memorizing it is to get it where you don't have to think about or don't have to look at it, and you can look at your bass neck while you do the bass lines.
Okay.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a walking bass line just using triads. And we're going to restrict our choices to the first 5 frets, open string through the first 5 fret.
Okay.
All right, so everything up through there.
Okay.
And the reason you want to stay in the first 5 frets initially is it forces you to use the different sections and positions, you know, to come up with different stuff.
Okay.
All right. So the best way to proceed is to, well, you can do it a couple different ways. You can start off with just finding the different possibilities of each triad within that first 5 frets. And the open string versions will count as a separate, you know, position of that particular chord.
Okay.
Right, so for example, if I had A minor 7, I went 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1. Right? I could also go, that would constitute a minor left side position, section 1. Right? Or I could go 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1 using the open A string, which would be a section 1 right side position. Because essentially it'd be kind of like doing, but because of the open string, it kind of takes away that visual reference.
Okay, so we didn't; those weren't necessarily in the triads section, but it's okay to use the open strings in those.
Right.
They
yeah.
In the PDF.
I mean, the open string you want to think of is kind of like a right side position.
Okay.
Because normally you would play a right side position starting with the first finger. All right, so we can find the different possibilities. One would be 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5, and its inversion would count as 1.
Okay.
All right, we could go 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5 using the open E.
Okay.
We could go 1, let's see, open string, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5. Use the A here. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5. 1, 5, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 5. Alright, so you find as many different ones out of the 3 sections as you can of each chord.
Okay.
Now, I wouldn't say that you should like have all that totally down before you proceed to the next step. In fact, if you know your triad, you know, sections and positions pretty well by now, you could go ahead and just dive into actually putting together a walking bass line.
Okay.
So don't feel like you have to go through each chord and map out each possibility before moving forward. That's just kind of like a step to kind of maybe run through some choices.
Okay.
Right, so now we want to, each measure is going to get the 4 notes, right? So what you do is you just pick one, okay? Now the only real restriction here would be that you want to try to connect the 4th beat of the chord you're on, pick the closest note sonically to that 4th beat of the next chord.
That just makes for a smooth transition.
Yeah, exactly. Now there are ways to do interval leaps that we'll get to later.
Okay. Okay.
So for example, let's say if I just picked 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3. Right? My closest D is either going to be the 5th fret on the A string or open D. Since there's the same pitch, it really doesn't matter what you go to. But then I could say, okay, I'm going to pick 1, and I'm going to go to the 5 first. 5, 3, 5 for the D. Now you're clear on which each chord of the, what type of triad each chord gets, right? Let's go over that real quick. I'm sorry, we probably should have done this first.
Yeah, I mean, I know that learning the A minor, but then I don't know. I know we talked very briefly about the 7.
Yeah, the sevens aren't really important. Basically, just know that if A minor 7 is going to get the minor triad.
Okay.
Right. The sevens don't really count yet.
Okay.
All right. The D7, which is dominant seventh, I don't think we've gotten to in scales yet. But that's going to get a major triad.
Okay.
The G major 7 is going to get a major triad.
Okay.
The C major 7 is going to get a major triad.
Okay.
The F sharp minor 7 flat 5 is going to get a diminished triad.
Okay.
The B7 is going to get a major triad.
Okay.
And then the 2 measures of E minor are going to get minor triads.
Okay, so everything gets just major or minor except for the diminished on the F sharp.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
That's what the flat 5 means.
Right.
At the end, right? Okay.
So going back again, we got our 1, flat 3, 5, flat 3. Now I'm just picking one. I mean, I could have picked any of those possibilities I wanted to. Right? Okay. I'm just starting here. And then I'm going to connect to this D here. I'm going to go 1, 5, 3, 5. Now I'm close to this G on the 3rd fret of the E string. I'll go to the 3 first. 1, 3, 5, 3. Then I'm a half step away from the C, 3rd fret on the A string. 1, 5, 3, 5. Right? I'm a half step above this F sharp, so I'll go to this one. As opposed to this one, that's too far away on the 2nd fret of the E string. I'm closer to this 4th fret on the D string. So I have 1, flat 5, flat 3, flat 5. Now I'm a half step above this B, so I'll go to the 4th fret of the G string. 1, 5, 3, 5. I'm a whole step above this E on the 2nd fret of the D, so I'll pick that one. 1, 5, flat 3, 5. Now I have 2 measures of E minor, so I need to do 2 of them. But I want to do different ones. I don't want to repeat the same one twice.
Okay.
All right. Now I went 1, 5, flat 3, 5. Now this 5 is halfway between the low one and the high one, so it really doesn't matter which one I go to.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 1, 5, flat 3, 5 is the first one, so I'll go back to this one again and go 1, 5, flat 3, 5.
So do you also, even though you're going to a different place, do you keep the order the same, like 5, flat 3, 5?
No, you can mix that up any way you want. Okay. I'm just trying to give it some variety, so I'll switch off. If I do a 3 first one time, I might go to a 5, but it's okay to do like several 3s in a row if you want to, because there is a finite number of choices here. You know, with restricting ourselves to the first 5 frets. I mean, there's only so many ways you can do it.
Okay, but the root note always goes in the 1s position for now?
Right, yeah. The root will always be on the first beat of each new chord for now. That's a temporary rule.
Okay.
That's one thing about music. All rules are temporary. So a good way to approach this, rather than worrying about memorizing a bunch of different ones, is to like learn one. I mean, really learn one real good. And then vary that one. Okay. And then once you learn it good, go ahead and try it with a track.
Okay.
So you see, just using the triads, you were able to come up with a perfectly functional walking bass line. Now, of course, there's a lot more that we want to do with this, but that's enough. I mean, you're clearly outlining the harmony.